Hi, Mike. How's it going?
Yeah, very well. I mean, I've seen some nonsense this week, but this, I think, tops the lot. They've actually now redefined equality to mean not treating everybody equally.
That's the thing that leapt out of me as well. I noticed that
Right?
instantly. I thought that this is a real problem because what's happening in St. Andrews and other universities too is that they seem to have forgotten their mission of educating students about the world and
Yeah.
about their subject. And instead, they're kind of inculcating them into woke conformism. You know, universities have become these factories of wokeness. They
Yeah.
take young people in, they eat them up, and they spit them out as these kind of nodding dogs of political correctness. There's a real tragedy that this is happening. And I thought the fact that St. Andrews now encourages this new intake of students to have this misunderstanding of equality so that they think it can mean treating people differently,
Yes.
that shows how much this kind of ideological worldview is being foisted on young people in a really bad way.
Well, this is the actual wording of the question. Does equality mean treating everyone the same? And those who respond yes are told this. That's not right. In fact, equality may mean treating people differently and in a way that is appropriate to their needs so that they have fair outcomes and equal opportunity. Well, if you're treating people differently, surely they don't have equal opportunity, do they?
That's the point. You know, if you're treating people differently, then you're treating them unequally. The whole point of equality is that everyone has a fair chance. We don't care what your background is, or your skin color,
Mm.
or your sex, or your sexuality. Everyone should have a fair shot at the job, at the course at university, at anything they want to do. But this notion that's now being pushed by St. Andrews and others that it means treating people differently, that's actually an invitation to judge people according to their race or according to their sex or according to where they come from, just in case they might need a helping hand or an extra bit of sympathy, or they might need to be understood in a different way. It's actually an invitation to a very divisive form of thinking, which I think undercuts the whole goal of equality, which is that people should have a fair shot regardless of their background.
And of course, all of the people making these kind of rules up are incredibly privileged people, regardless of whatever their opportunities were or whatever their colour of their skin is or what class they come from. They are now sitting in academia, very high on the hog, in a very nice part of Scotland, presumably with a very nice salary and rather a nice lifestyle.
Exactly. And I had the same thought about the University of Kent, because
Yeah.
the University of Kent has also been in the news this week for trying to get students to follow the new woke orthodoxies. And it's giving students a survey about white privilege.
Right.
And one of the examples of white privilege is that you can wear secondhand clothes without being judged for it. And I just thought, you have these incredibly well-paid administrators at a university like Kent or St. Andrews who are telling these students, some of whom will be from ordinary working class backgrounds, about how privileged they are, about the fact that if you wear secondhand clothes, you could be privileged. If you swear, that's another example of white privilege. All these ridiculous
I'm in a
ideas
lot
that
of
have been.
trouble.
Yeah, well, exactly. You and I are obviously very privileged indeed.
Yeah.
But this is all the backwards stuff that's being foisted on young people. And I think the serious point here is that what's happening, you know, young people, if they ask me now, should I go to university? I'm very tempted to say, no, you
Yeah.
shouldn't, because it's no longer about education. It's about being given the correct way of thinking. And you'd be far better off learning a trade or getting a job and keeping your independence of mind.
Absolutely, and not being in £30,000 worth of debt after 3 years of the ludicrous indoctrination. The other good one I see here from St Andrews is personal guilt. Acknowledging your personal guilt is a useful start point in overcoming unconscious bias.
I mean, all the words are in there: personal guilt, unconscious bias. All these phrases are just are thrown around these days, and people very rarely stop to ask what they mean. And what I want to know is, why on earth should an 18-year-old kid going to university who has never done or said anything racist, which will be the case for the majority of them, why should they feel guilty about anything? These are just kids who want to learn about the world and do some good. And this idea of unconscious bias, the idea that we all have these biases lurking within us, and it's down to the expert classes and the psycho babblers to tempt them out and to correct them. It's really giving rise to a very divided world, and also to one in which people have more authority over us because we're constantly seen as being in need of moral correction. So this really sums up the problem with the woke ideology. And I really hope some students start to push back against it.
I really hope so too. Brendan, good to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed. Brendan O'Neill, Chief Political Editor at Spiked Online.